Chairs No Waiting, episode number 288. Ernest T. Bass, Thelma Lou, and the Fun Girl, part 1. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the fine folks over at WeaversDepartmentStore.com. Drop by over at Weavers and check out all the wonderful things they have. Weavers Department Store is really the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club's online store. So when you buy from them, you're helping to support Mayberry events all throughout the country. So please dig Mr. Weaver, and he'll dig you right back. Two Chairs No Waiting is also brought to you by donations from listeners just like you. Hello, everybody. I'm Alan Newsom, your host for Two Chairs No Waiting, and it is my pleasure to be with you here in Mayberry this week. It's always fun to just spend a little bit of time with you. And I've been going through a bunch of my old videotapes that were on 8mm film or video tapes, and been going through those trying to digitize them so that I can get them onto some format that I could actually watch, because I can barely watch those old 8mm films. And in the process of that, I ran across the 1993 Mayberry Squad Car Rendezvous held up in Bradford, Ohio. It was near Troy, Ohio, if you know where that is. That was where the hotel we stayed at was. It was Troy. But this particular event had Howard Morris, Betty Lynn, and Jean Carson on hand to help the fans of the Andy Griffith Show just celebrate Mayberry. Now, the event, it was called the Mayberry Squad Car Rendezvous. It's been changed over the years. Now it's the Mayberry Squad Car Nationals. And it's a little bit different than the Squad Car Rendezvous was. What happened was the fellow who actually put on the event, he actually had built a Wally service station onto the front of his barn. So it looked like Wally's service station when you came up. So basically you were going down these old country roads out in the middle of Ohio, and you got to see some amazing scenery as you did so. And then when you got over to his house, as you're driving up, there was Wally's service station right there on the front of the barn. It was a big white barn, and he had extended an area out the front so that it looked like Wally's, and even had the gas pumps and everything. He had memorabilia inside the gas station part. And he had taken a part of the barn and made basically a stage that was raised about 6 feet off the ground inside the barn, where the doors opened up, and the cast members were up in that barn talking to the fans who were standing around on the ground outside. So anyway, this is going to be a 2-part episode because we had so much material from this. It was almost an hour of the cast members answering questions from the audience. And what I'm going to do in the show notes this week, so if you want to drop by twocairsnowaiting.com and look for episode 288, you'll be able to see the show notes, and I'm going to list out the questions, not the answers that went with them, but the questions in a bulleted format, so you'll kind of see the order of the questions they answer. So if you want to skip around in the audio or the video, you'll be able to skip around a little bit to find the question that you were anxious to hear the answer to. Now this episode, it's going to be video. There is video involved in this one. So if you watch the video episode, you're going to be able to see it. Now, I want to apologize for the viewers that do watch the video, because it was a handheld camera that I was using to record it, and I did pretty well at times holding it still, but sometimes, it moves around. So take some Dramamine if you're going to watch it. It doesn't move that much, but it's definitely not on a tripod. There's also a little bit of hiss and stuff, but that's because this video is 20 years old and I'm just now getting this thing converted over. So we've got a fairly long show here, so let me get everything ready to go, and I know you're going to enjoy this. The first question is not on the video, so I'm going to tell you what they're asking here. They're asking the cast members as this begins. They've just asked them, now remember, it's Betty Lynn, that's Thelma Lou, Howard Morris, Ernest T. Bass, and Jean Carson, the fun girl, Daphne. They're asking them a question: what's your favorite episode of the Andy Griffith Show, or what episode is your favorite? All right, so let's go on over and hear it and see how it sounds.
Little Opie had Rosie that he liked, and he was torn and couldn't quite understand. He was suffering a loss, and he didn't know what to think of this Aunt Bee. And that touched me so. I cried a lot. I think that was my favorite.
What about you, Jean?
I tell you the truth, I just loved all of the shows. I loved the America thing about the show, the small town, which is in all of us, and I still enjoy them. They're on in Palm Springs 4 times a day. And I don't watch them 4 times a day, but I watch an episode a day, well, days I can.
Okay, anybody else have a question?
Oh, she was a wonderful woman. She was a great actress, and you know, she wasn't really Aunt Bee in that sense that she wasn't baking for us or looking after everybody, but
She did for me.
oh well, I have to say, yeah, you got to bring that out in all of us. But she was a wonderful person. She had wit, and watching her work to me was a great pleasure. I had always admired her before I'd met her, and I enjoyed watching what she did and how she handled everything, and the way her eyes would dance. And I know one time she said something that I thought was so cute. Bob Sweeney, who was the director at the time, hi, we're just waving at people as they go by. He had told her that she was moving too fast in a scene. And he finally said to her, Frances, when you were younger, were you very small? Were you smaller and everything and moved fast? And she said, it suddenly hit her that here she was, an older woman, and heavier, but she was still moving like this young girl all over the place. And she said it kind of struck her. She hadn't even thought about it. Well, of course you don't, you know. But I thought that was kind of interesting, because all of us retain a certain thing maybe in working, you know, a kind of zest, you hope. And I don't remember.
I said, what was the question?
But it kind of hit her, you know, and I thought that was kind of sweet and touching, that things like that still meant a lot to her. I'm just trying to explain about Frances, and what little I do know, I wanted to tell her. Well, I haven't in a with his car.
What about you, Howard?
I talk to him occasionally, yeah. He's doing very well. Oh, yes, yeah. And if he keeps at it, he'll have a career.
Now, Jean, you probably don't get to see Andy that much.
No, I haven't seen Andy for years.
Don't you lower your voice to us.
Stay right here.
You ain't heard the last, darn it. See back.
Did you even know?
I knew that was well, you mean the last time I was on it? Yes. Yeah. No, I was kind of emotional in a sense, I think, about it, because I loved doing the show so much. But once Don left to go to Universal and do movies, I was no longer on the show, so they brought me back for that final thing where I had my husband with me and shot Don to death. Anyway, yeah, I felt it, but you're bound to. I mean, you really care about these people and work with them, and you care about the characters. You believe it too, you know. And
the audience always fills in for me, and I thank you in advance.
There's a fellow over there.
Howard, I'd like to know how you got chosen to be on your show of shows.
Luck! Now, I had worked previously on a show called Your Show of Shows, and one of the writers on that show was named Aaron Rubin. And I got this call. He said, we have a character we're not quite sure about, and we wonder if you would look at it and see if you'd like to do it. And I did, and I did. And I did. You probably all know by now that I only did 5 segments, which is a kind of tribute to national insanity, because that's what Ernest T. represents for all of us, I think.
I think he asked you how you happened to be on the show of shows. Didn't you?
Just switch it all, okay?
You think I forget the question? You don't even know it.
I'll get you for that.
I know you will. I hope so.
The Show of Shows, I was walking down the street one day out of work as an actor, and a friend of mine said, hey, they need a guy that a fellow named Sid Caesar can lift up by the lapels. What do you weigh? I said, I weigh 106 pounds, and this is the only jacket I own. He said, go over there, and I went over there, and I met this guy, and he lifted me up by the lapels and said, him get. That was Sid Caesar. And from there on, it was like, I don't know, 45 years ago. Okay? That's what happens in this business. You never know, and there's no way to anticipate.
Do you recall that actor at all?
Yeah, I do, Mr. Schwamp. No, nobody knows his real name, I don't think.
It's in a book.
Yeah.
Is it big?
Yeah, it is. I'm just trying to think.
I never knew.
Yeah. Is it Jim's book that it's in? And Ken's? No? Gosh, I
don't think it's in
remember.
Jim Clark's book, and trust me, if Jim Clark don't know,
That's what
nobody
I mean. I
knows.
thought it was in Jim's somehow, but maybe I'm wrong. But there's a lot about him in that, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guess not. Gee. Well, he'll always be remembered well, even if we don't know his name.
Right.
A lot of people ask about him.
Go ahead.
Well, it's hard to got kids and grandkids as wired as he is.
Would you repeat that, please?
You have kids and grandkids as wiry as you were.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to meet me around the back? I'll rock you.
He has a handsome
Yes,
son
ma'am.
and a beautiful daughter.
Thelma, Lou, I'm
Yes.
in love with Andy, and I know why I loved Andy, but I want to know why Thelma Lou loved Barney so much.
Every now and then they ask me that. Well, I think Thelma Lou saw all of the sweet qualities of Barney and almost this childlike quality in Barney, and all of those things bring out maternal instincts and love, and that's part of love many times with women, and that taking care of, wanting to take care of, and I think that was a lot of it. At least I guess so.
Well, what do you think Daphne thought about Andy? Why was she so in love with Andy? Do you know?
I don't know, darling. I think probably the uniform and the hair. Yes,
Curly hair.
gorgeous hair. Yes. And of course, I think those fun girls, as long as they thought they might get, they would, for some reason, wanted to get in that jail too. I don't know what that was all about.
Okay, another question. Anybody?
Andy's manager's wife played a part several times, I understand.
Andy's manager's wife played a part several times.
Several wives.
Richard Link?
Richard Link, yeah.
Richard Link's wife? Is that who you mean?
We don't know.
We don't know a lot about that, I don't think.
That's internal nepotism,
Yeah, none of us were related to anybody.
which most businesses work on.
Yeah.
You may not know that, but that's true.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Ed,
This is for Howard. Were you a director or an actor first?
Actor. You want to make something out of that? And I saw the opportunity to make some more money.
he's a very fine director.
Oh, yeah.
You are.
Oh, I know.
Well, give us an idea of some of the shows that you directed.
Well, I directed the pilot for Get Smart. I directed Bewitched. I directed Hogan's Heroes. and I did several films. One called With Six You Get Egg Roll with Doris Day, and a picture with Jackie Gleason called Don't Drink the Water.
Yeah.
And several others, which I'm not even going to mention. They were bombs.
Occasionally, because we all get together like we are today, and oftentimes they're there, and Maggie's there, and it's great to see them. We have a great time together.
Did you enjoy making Return to Mayberry?
Yeah, that was like Twilight Zone. Suddenly you're back in the same clothes, with the same people, with the same sets. And
Yeah.
25 years later, it was weird.
Deja vu. Yeah, really. It was terrific.
And we liked it.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get paid pretty good on that?
Yeah. Yeah, I got good
We
money.
did well.
Back there.
Huh?
How is Don Knotts' health?
Good.
Very good.
He's
I
good,
was just
good health.
telling some of the people earlier that Don, I think, even looks better now than when I worked with him over 30 years ago. He really looks wonderful. He's filled out a little, and he looks happy.
He's touring a play called Harvey, about the Invisible Rabbit, which
I
was
love that.
done as a film with Jimmy Stewart, and he's playing that part, and he's marvelous.
I'm hoping to see him.
Some of the club people have seen it, darling. I think 2 or 3 of the clubs went to see him in Michigan. Yeah.
Water.
Over here. Thelma Lou.
Yes.
In the program, what was your occupation? I recall
No one knew.
make reference.
No one knew. Well, I think one time they made that reference, but no one ever really knew what she did, and I thought it was just as well to leave it that way. She had no last name. She was just there, that's all. But, yeah, none of it. We used to sometimes talk about what maybe how she survived. We don't know, but anyway, no, there was never really any definite thing. She finally had a home and a house, and I was real thrilled when they built that set. I thought, it looks like I'll be around a few weeks longer, so that was nice, yeah.
Thelma Lou.
Yes, sir.
Barney can't sing.
I know, Barney can sing, that's true. The line from I love that show too. You're talking about favorites. See, I have a lot of favorites, really. But that one was one of my favorites because Don was to be in this ridiculous position of in front of a microphone and to think he was Sinatra, almost. And yet Andy making him believe that he was being heard and he got his voice down to nothing. And then this great baritone sound comes out from the man. I fell on the floor with that one. Oh, another one I loved was when Don he and Andy were in the office, and he started talking about how he remembered the preamble to the Constitution. We, the people of the United States of America. But Andy had to feed him almost every word. I love that. There's a lot of them that I'll just fall apart watching. I mean, really great.
Howard, recently Tim Allen was on an award show and he thanked his writers and he mentioned Howard Morris. Are you writing for Home Improvement?
No, that's an interloper.
Thank you on the award show.
But I get his checks. So that's
I like
okay.
Home Improvement. I think it's a cute show.
All right, a blue shirt right there.
What kind of talk is that?
Don was married to a lovely lady when I first came on the show. 2 children. I thought Don was adorable. I liked him, a lot. I know he told me once that his wife said, "Do you like kissing, Betty? Is she a good kisser?"
Can't stand it. Cannot stand it. Can't
And I
stand
said,
it.
She didn't. He said, yes, she did. And I said, well, what did you say? And he said, well, I told her it was nice. Anyway, no, all of them were so sweet. Oh, they were all married. Everybody was married, and I wasn't out trying to look for anybody, and despite the way I sound occasionally when I misspeak, I'm really not a wild girl, I hate to tell you. No, not at all.
Ernestine, I got a question to ask you. Now, she says everybody was married, but we don't know. I mean, were you married to one of your wives at that time?
Time to time. You gotta keep doing it till you get it right.
And I've never done it once yet.
I am very happily married right now. Very happily married. Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Do all three of you watch the old episodes?
Certainly not.
I do.
I do too. I love it. I love the show.
I love them. I love them.
If I'd never been on the show, it wouldn't matter. I like that
Yes.
show.
I think I
don't
probably
care, you know.
would be a member of a club. Somebody could make me an honorary member.
Yeah, I feel I am. Yeah. Oh, it's good.
Ah.
All the chapters? Yeah.
Looks like you're trying to talk.
Which part did you like playing best? The fun girl or the next song?
Oh, the fun girls. The fun girls, yes. But of course, I worked with two great little actresses in the escaped convicts. You know, Rita Shaw was a fine dramatic actress also. You all know that she did a music teacher character in one of the episodes. And Jane Doolittle just did Sally when she fell in love with Al. Yeah.
I have a question for all three of you. What's your favorite episode? That's like asking who's your favorite kid, I know that.
I already discussed that on my part, so I'm out of it. Go ahead. It's fine.
Yeah. No, we don't really have favorites. It was all such an incredible experience. It melds, it runs together. And we love them all as you do.
Yeah, it's hard to pick them out.
Is your personality similar to them?
Me? I don't know. You know, they become real to you, these characters you play, in a sense, I think. I mean, it does to me. No, not really. No, once you're away from things, but when you're in it, I don't know, that you're bound to bring some of yourself to anything you do, I suppose, but I never tried to emulate Thelma Lou myself, offset, no. I don't think so, no.
Did Andy ever ask the three of you to be on that block when Barney was on there?
Not when Barney was on. I was on it as a secretary the first year, but I had no part. I just had one line in a show or something, and finally they just decided to forget it.
What about you, Howard?
No, my mother taught me it's polite to wait until you're asked.
Yeah.
And I've never been asked.
No, Gene?
No.
Do you guys have any contact with Jim Neighbors?
Well, Jim, I can tell you that he did, as I understand he's done in years past, he sings the anthem for the Indianapolis thing, and he did it this year, and he visits Palm Springs. He evidently has friends down there, and that's where I'm living now. But I haven't seen Jim for years.
He's in very good shape after his trouble.
He's recovering very well, I understand. And, yeah.
He owns a big macadamia nut farm out in Hawaii, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he does. He also, he also lives in Wyoming, I understand. He has homes different places, I suppose. But I was always very fond of Jim, and he had that fabulous voice, and in fact, in one of the books I was reading last night, the scrapbook that Lee brought, it was, he had asked me I had never heard him sing, and everyone else had. They all kept saying, "Oh, you should hear Jim Neighbors sing. Oh, this great voice." And I kept thinking, "Gee, he talks kind of like this." Everything. I couldn't. So I thought, I kept saying, "Jim, someday I've got to come out to the Horn or somewhere when you're out there and hear you." Because he used to go there to kind of shape up his act and everything. And it was in Santa Monica. So one night he said to me, "Tomorrow night I'm going out to the Horn, Betty. Would you like to come out and have dinner with me? And I'm going to do a little of my act." And I said, "Oh, Jim, I'd love it." So he came by and picked me up. We went out and had dinner. And he got up and he started on his act. And he was doing kind of that country music and little hillbilly stuff and all kinds of little things. And then suddenly broke into Pagliacci. And I was like, you know, I was so astounded. Really, really impressive. And he's a sweet, wonderful man. And I used to see him occasionally. I was at his home in Beverly Hills. He had the most beautiful mansion that I think I've ever seen. And I think he sold that, I don't know. But he was a really nice man. I'd met his family, his sisters, his mother. I was very fond and am still very fond of Jim. I don't see him anymore or hear from him, but I'm so grateful that he was able to get a transplant, and it looks very good for him. So I'm hoping we'll see a lot more.
Gentleman out there in the middle.
Yeah, when Jeff Pruitt come to town looking for a wife, I think we saw a little different side of Barney. He was real aggressive and really showed his affection for you.
Yeah.
Hard to take, was a lot of mistakes in that for Barney.
Yeah, it was sort of, yeah.
We need to repeat the question. The question was, when Jeff Pruitt came to town looking for a wife,
Right.
we saw like a different side of Barney.
Yeah,
Was that?
he began to decided to defend his property a little
Right.
bit, he thought, right?
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was cute too. There were so many things. Gosh, I love to hear you all bring these up because it refreshes my memory, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Can we get Howard Morris to do Old Aunt Mariah?
Can we get Howard Morris to do Old Aunt
If you
Mariah?
help me,
Yeah!
All right. We got a gas can for you back there.
We'll pull back.
gotta tune up my instrument. Oh, look at that. Is that lovely? Wait a second. That's it. Hope I can remember it. Old Aunt Mariah, jump in the fire, fire too hot, jump in the pot, pot too black, jump in the crack, crack too high, jump in the sky, sky too blue, jump in the canoe, canoe too shallow, jump in the tower, tower too soft, jump in the loft, loft too rotten, jump in the cotton, cotton so white I stay there all night. Fun to do. It's about as crazy as Ernest T can get. Well, not really. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I use one of Andy Griffith's scripts to teach playwriting to students in high school. And
You do, huh?
one of the reasons we use it is because the script is followed almost word for word, so it's easy for them to follow. Did you all do a lot of improvisation or add to the script?
Let me repeat the question. The question was, she teaches school, and she uses a script to show the children how you followed the script so long. Did any of you ever get to like add to the script or take away or?
A little bit.
Not much.
Little
We
bit.
stuck pretty much to what the writers did.
It was beautifully written.
That's
And
right.
we didn't have to improve it.
Yeah, we enjoyed those scripts.
that's right.
You know, they built. You could just. It was a great opportunity to work on them.
They would let me do like the poetry that this
Yeah.
crazy guy did. You ain't heard the last Ernest T. Bass. If I see you was coming, I'd have known what to do. I'd have raised both arms and I'd have waved at you. How do you do, Mrs. Wiley? If a duck stands still, you can catch him by the bill.
Say stop that wedding.
Huh?
Say stop that wedding.
Stop that wedding.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
See, I'm old.
And there are various areas that go away.
Yeah. There's those little bitty strokes.
What happened to your gold tooth?
Huh?
What happened to your gold tooth?
A gold tooth. What he says that I can...
I'm going to knock these three out.
I can film 1,500 times. I'm going to knock out these three. So I put a gold tooth right in the middle of it. So they shine.
While I'm dancing.
Well, I'm dancing.
Huh?
Stand out better when I'm
Oh, you know it better than I do. Leave me alone. I give up.
Yep.
Did I?
So that's our first half of the Mayberry Squad Car Rendezvous held up in Bradford, Ohio. So that's our first part. Now, the gentleman on stage that we're doing the interview was Dennis Hasty and his radio partner, Mark Golden Richards. And they had a radio program back in those days, back when that was, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was, I'll find out by next week. It had something to do with Mayberry. And they had a radio program on Saturday mornings, I believe, is when they had it, that they talked about the Andy Griffith Show. So they were actually hosting the show that evening or that day as for the cast members. I'm trying to look this up as I'm telling you this. It was called Good Morning Mayberry. That was the name of it. I can't believe I didn't know that. So anyway, they did a great job with audience. The audience, I thought, was asking some really good questions. Not too many repeat questions, other than the favorite episode question that you heard. And if you couldn't hear the questions very well, they did a pretty good job of repeating them when you couldn't hear them at all. As I said, I'm going to have the questions listed out. So if you didn't figure out what the question was by the answer or something like that, definitely head over to the show notes for episode number 288, and you'll be able to read the question, so you'll know what they were actually saying. Now, this is really just a treasure for us because Howard Morris, he passed away in, let's see, was it May the 21st, I believe it was, of 2005, and Jean Carson, she passed away in November of that same year. Now, Betty, of course, she's still with us and doing great. I saw her last year, remember? We did the episode with her where I interviewed her. So it's great to see her. She'll be at Mount Airy again this coming weekend. So if you're going to be up in the area and you're hearing this kind of live, you can head up there to the Andy Griffith Museum and visit with Betty and get an autograph. But folks, I hope you have enjoyed this, and we will continue it next week. We're about halfway through the process here, and we have got plenty more to hear from. We got questions about did anybody really visit with Hal Smith, keep up with him? Did the Darlings play their music live on the show? We've got, let's see here. We got a lot of good questions. They asked Ernest how he kept getting out of jail. A lot of really good stuff. And of course, the question I enjoy hearing is, what was it like to work with Floyd Mcnear? What was that like? Anyway, there's a whole list of more questions that are coming up for next week's episode, and I want to ask you to take some time to join us again for episode 289, where we hear part 2, the final part of the show. And until then, I'd love to hear from you. You can give me a call at 888-684-8415 and let me know what you think. Tell me about some of your memories. Were you at this event? Let us know, because this will be fun to hear as you remember what we're seeing, because I was there and I didn't remember until I watched the video. So give me a call, 888-684-8415. Email me at floyd@imayberry.com, or just drop by over at twochairsnowaiting.com, and all that information is there. You can leave messages there as well. Folks, thank you again for spending time with me here in Mayberry. It's always great to visit with you. And until next time, we'll see you here on Two Chairs No Waiting. Good night, everybody.